Time to sell your home. Start with a visit to howardhanna.com. Ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Avoiding care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our North Amherst studios for Western New York Athletics. I'm Francis Beck, joined by Tim Chifa and Joe Daniel. This is the Howard Hanna Far West Regional Halftime Show, Class C Far West Regional. It's East Rochester, Cananda, and Medina tied at 6 at the half. And we believe it was Greg Thompson, although we're not 100% sure on that. I believe it was Greg Thompson comes up big right at the end of the half, 4th and goal, or the Bombers are right on the goal line, about to get the goal score, and then it's Greg Thompson coming up with the one-handed interception in the end zone. Guys, 6-6. It felt, Medina made a lot of mistakes, but they come up big in the end. And this is a tie ball game, and they have to feel pretty good heading in the locker room.
If you watch the pregame show, you can pretty much delete everything that I said because it's literally the opposite of what I talked about. So every time I expect a shootout because of what you see on paper, it's a defensive battle. And it was a really kind of a unique first half because it seemed like they only had the ball, maybe 2 times each, like maybe one more, but very long drives for East Rochester, and twice came up with empty-handed. But I'll tell you, great play. We're 90% sure it was Greg Thompson, whoever it was, the defense for Medina. Huge play there on 4th down and a big momentum, big momentum lift for them going into halftime.
In a strange play call, when we kind of questioned, and Tim, you said when you've got a quarterback and it's tough for the defensive line to stop if they go low, go high.
Well, because they didn't need the touchdown.
And they didn't need a touchdown. They could have gotten a first down. They rolled down. They threw a pass, and he wasn't open. And you threw away a long drive. Yeah, you didn't give Medina a chance, but you got to come away with points there.
Well, and I think they almost maybe try to outthink themselves a little too much and just didn't keep it basic sometimes. So because not only did Medina pick it off, but it also gave him the ball back with some time. So, they got the first down, I thought, pretty easily with a quarterback sneak because it looked like you needed maybe a foot from our perspective. It may have been a little longer, but from what we could see from our, from the studio here, it looked like they needed about a foot, which is extremely hard for any defense, especially in high school, to stop a kind of athletic quarterback from either just going low to the right or the left or just diving forward for about a half a yard, which would have kept the drive going, give him a fresh set of downs, and probably would have scored with no time left on the half. And it's just a big momentum change. They rolled out the quarterback to the right, threw it back across his body to his left, and Medina player Greg Thompson, we believe it was, did a great job.
I actually just got our word from our sideline reporter Jake Fyack down there. He did confirm it was Greg Thompson who had that interception. Joe, you were taking some notes. Why don't we just quickly go through the highlights just to get everybody who is not watching the game up to speed as to what happened in that first half?
Yeah, an interesting start with Medina fumbling the ball in the first play of the game. I mean, and that's what led to East Rochester getting their touchdown. But it was a really hard touchdown because it took a couple plays. But it was a run from Adrian Letta, and that's how they got their touchdown. Granada moved the ball again to the 25 of Medina. They got stopped. Big play, the biggest play in the second quarter when Medina really had the ball. Payne to rim. It was a long pass, ended up being a Skinner touchdown. So they make the extra point, and then there's a flag. We talked about costly mistakes. Then they missed the next one. And then, we talk about Greg Thompson in the end zone. So it's interesting. Medina was not very good in this first half, but the score is even, and they have a chance to regroup. And we talked about it, in both these games last night. No one hit their target average point. And look, we got a defensive matchup through the first half.
Yeah, we talked about, guys, what I was impressed with, the little offense that Medina did have in the first half, but the play call to Jaron Rim on that pass was a great play call. I know, Francis, you wanted to say, there's an opening over the top of the defense right now. So you obviously saw something there, but it was a really well executed play. As Xander Payne, we talked about a lot in the pregame, Connolly Cup finalist, really good patient on that play, because it's got to be it's almost like a swing pattern where he hesitates, he waits for the defense. So Xander Payne's got to have some patience on that play. Really nice play call by the offensive coordinator, whoever calls the plays for the Mustangs, and well executed. But like I said, I expected a shootout. It's obviously not going to be that way. It doesn't look like. But I'm excited to see, who's going to make the adjustments, and what adjustments do you really have to make when it's 6-6? It's not like anybody's doing anything bad. It's not like they're. It's just. I just think if you're Medina, you got to try to figure out a way to get their defense off the field somehow.
Yeah, because they're not. I mean, they're getting the stops, okay, but really,
they're bending, not breaking.
It's the Dick Sharon bend but not break, name drop Dick Sharon, because they're moving the ball down the field. But when it comes to it and they need a stop, they're getting it, and they're forcing East Rochester to do a lot of fourth downs, and they've gotten lucky because East Rochester's taking advantage of some penalties and some breaks. But it's the bend up but not break. But in the second half, I mean, you've got to get some more offense. You've got to keep your offense on the field, because in that half, East Rochester, second quarter, East Rochester had the ball way too much.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned when you're doing your recap, Joe, is these penalties. You got to be careful for Medina. They're coming back to haunt them a little bit, and when you get a false start on your extra point, and you move back 5 yards, and then it hit the crossbar to make it 6-6 instead of 7-6. That's huge.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of penalties for Medina. I don't have the number exactly how many, but they're mental penalties. And, I'm okay with once in a while, I think coaches are too, if, you get a holding call or something like that, where it's in the midst of the play. Okay. But when it's before the ball is snapped and it's 5 yards here, 5 yards there, that will drive a coaching staff crazy, because that's just mental. That's not physical. Right. So you got to be smarter with the ball. And they also gave East Rochester a first down that way. East Rochester did a hard count on like 4th and 2, I believe it was, and got Medina to jump and gave them a free first down. So little things like that are keeping the offense for East Rochester on the field and keeping the high-powered Mustangs offense off the field. So kudos to East Rochester for that. But those are some of the things that Medina's got to tighten up here for the second half.
I feel like Medina may have been a little bit overwhelmed, maybe of the moment when coming into this game. We didn't obviously see it last week, and they were the stadium because they jumped out to the leads. Maybe it was the moment that got them, but you have to feel after it was probably their worst half all season they played, and you're tied in the Far West Regional. Yeah. You have to feel pretty good if you're Medina.
Yeah, I think so. And Joe, you mentioned it last night. Let's not forget these are high school kids. Yeah. If you think they're not nervous, you're crazy. They say this is what these kids dreamed about since they strapped on shoulder pads, whether they're playing Little Loop or Little League, whatever it's called, or in August when they went out for this team this year. So I guarantee none of these kids could sleep last night. They're nervous all morning long. They're playing, in their own region. So there's going to be some mental mistakes and there's going to be some physical mistakes just because of nerves. It would happen on any level, but these are what these kids dreamed about. And it's a bit sloppy, but like you said, Francis, it's 6-6, it's a brand new ball game. You got a half to go and you didn't play your best football, but you're not losing. So, sky's the limit still for you.
Yeah. These kids know what it's at stake, just like they did last week with their section championships, and they know that they're one win closer to getting to Carrier Dome in 2 weeks. And sometimes the pressure is too much, but you got to control your emotions. The fouls, making most of every play, and hopefully it'll lead to a touchdown. Maybe a turnover, but you got to take it one play at a time because this is a tight game. And if there was an over/under, because you think about it, what these two teams average offensively. Guys, we're not even going to come close to that.
Yeah, and I think this is where the senior leadership has to come into play for either team, but more or less for Medina, because that's who we watch more often. And this is where you gotta get to a point where you gotta channel that nervousness that you have, and you gotta now you gotta go produce. You have half of football left. For some of these kids, it's going to be the last half of football they ever play. So you got to go out there and leave it all on the field. And no matter what happens, as long as you could say you did that, no matter what the score is, I know it's a little cliche what I'm saying right now, but it's the truth. If you leave it all on the field, you'll never look back and be frustrated at this point.
All right, before we wrap up, if you're in the East Rochester Gananda, I don't think they go in the locker room, but at least at that halftime huddle, what do you think the message is to the Bombers after you give up that, you go on that long drive and they just give up that turnover?
No, you take that one. I'll take Medina.
Yeah, no problem. So if I'm East Rochester, I'm actually not changing quite a bit. I didn't love the play call on that fourth down. That's not the player's fault. Okay, so if I'm the head coach, I'm probably going to the offense coordinator and say, "Hey, I didn't love that play. Let's make it a little bit easier." But I'm not changing too much, to be honest, because I think you pretty much dominated the first half, at least as time of possession, which we don't have. But I got to assume they dominated time of possession, and just get a little smarter when we get down into the red zone and make those opportunities count.
The reason why I gave you that one is I had in my head what I was going to say with Medina.
All right, so Joe, you are now Coach Valley. What are you saying to your team?
I was really long-winded last night.
Throw your headset down.
This is pretty quick. Get off the field on third down. That's it.
Yeah. But like I said, Francis, there's not a lot that I would change for either team right now. It's 6-6.
And I think it's mostly mentally for both of these teams.
With
the momentum.
Guys, the bend but not break. Can you hold on to that? I mean,
Yeah.
the third down, you got to get off. You got to get the ball back. You can't score if you don't have the ball.
Well, I think if you're Medina, you're banking on that was your worst half of football all season. It can't get worse. You're not losing. It can't get much worse than that. I think
it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It just wasn't a typical Medina half that we have seen all year long. But let's face it, we're playing. It's 2 11-0 teams, and it's 6-6 at halftime. This is what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
And Ganada's probably saying the same thing.
Yeah, and remember, Gananda last week was down by a touchdown at halftime and came back to win it in OT. All right, that will do it for the Howard Hanna halftime show. Join us back here after the game for our post-game wrap-up of the game, and then we're going to have coverage of the Class B and AA games later today from Williamsville South. So for Joe Daniel, Tim Chifa, I'm Francis Beck. Thanks for watching the Far West Regional Halftime Show. It's East Rochester and Medina are tied at 6 heading into the second half.
State site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
I love being home.
Avoiding care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you. Western New York Immediate Care provides quick, quality care for non-emergent injuries and illnesses. Go to WNYimmediatecare.com for more information.